Ilsa, you said something I want to ask you about sincerely. And you're right. The system is the structures, the policies, the rules, the practices, but fueling all of that beneath the waterline of that huge iceberg that is a school system are beliefs and expectations that humans have.
Hmm.
I don't hate on anybody for that. We're humans. I always say if you watch TV, you have ideas about people. There's no way you cannot.
Right.
You talk yourself out of them, but we're mere mortals after all. So the great debate is, and I wonder how you address it, if beliefs and expectations of adults of the capacity, the inherent capacity that different students and by group have of academic success, if those fuel all these things, do you first have to change people's beliefs before you change the system? Do you do that first?
You have to address it. Again, like I said, the urgency is there. You can never have 100% agreement because then we would never change the system. I just say we need, consensus, and you need to be very clear on the non-negotiables, like the things we're going to do now, but then what is that going to look like? Another example is when we were getting ready to come back in some form from COVID, we went to our teachers and said, we're going to reopen, but what should that look like? And they had a big say in, it maybe if we did this and maybe if it looked like this. So they were a part of that decision process. Did they all agree? No. Did they all agree on the trimester? No. But the majority did, and that's when we chose, to move forward with some of those decisions.
So I'm hearing you say, tell me if I'm right, but I'm hearing you say that it's kind of simultaneous. No, you don't wait for people's beliefs to change. You change the system, you just do it elegantly,
Hmm.
maturely, with grace, leadership grace
Yes.
to bring people along. But you're changing the system
Yes.
as beliefs change. I
Yes.
I I'm seeing a pattern in that, though some of the trainings and conferences and readings that professional readings would have us stop and at the beliefs portion of our trajectory before we do anything else, let's talk about mind shifting. And I always think, gosh, I'll be dead by then. And the kids are
Some,
in school right now, they're going to graduate,
yeah.
they're we're trying to get them to a life better than the life, that they would otherwise have.
Well, and some of the beliefs are never going to change. We see it. We have political beliefs, we have religious beliefs, and regardless of what anybody tells us, some of those aren't going to change. We're not going to sway one way or another. So I think we have to keep that in mind. But the way that this work started, and I wasn't here when it started, that when they started with you, Robin, and I think it's so powerful. I was here for the second one, is let's talk to everyone. Let's look at your data. Let's find what those barriers are. And I think it validated a lot of what the staff was saying. And there were, at the same time, a lot of ahas. We even see it now when we present data. When we did the Vista study 5 years after that, or six after that original one, staff were like, wow, I didn't realize that this group of students wasn't graduating at the same rate as everyone else. So bringing those facts that you can't argue are important. And I think sometimes where we fail is we want that canned program, that canned answer. And we forget that we're dealing with humans and individuals. And it can't be canned because what works at school A isn't going to necessarily work at school B because the needs are different or the problem is different. So the
That's
solution can't be the same.
and we're ending where you started, in leadership.
Mhm.
How that top of mind is, there's technical information and there's design and there are correct ways to open up access and opportunity to students. But the trick is the leadership part.
Yes.
In Shattering Inequities, that book, we talk about the leadership trilogy, and I'm looking at human example of that on my screen right now, and it's choking me up. And the leadership trilogy that you're expressing right now, that you manifest, is leadership grace, leadership maturity, and leadership integrity. And I think sometimes when we have these gaps in whatever the metric is, the inclination in the world is to look to teachers. If they just worked harder, if they
Yes.
just stopped
Working
fussing.
really hard.
And when you're in that iceberg under that waterline, you see it differently, and you realize the power of able leaders in moving this forward. And so with that, Ilsa, I thank you for sharing your experience and your results. I will say that during COVID and after, while achievement was declining, I happen to know that your district was the highest growth
Yes.
on student results district in the entire county,
Yes.
which
Double
is a
digits.
count double digit, which is a county of very much have nots and very much have economic communities. So the results speak for themselves.